in 3. And as a reminder, speakers, please speak a little slower than usual for our interpreters. To start, City of Austin Mayor Steve Adler will first say a few words, followed by Travis County Judge Andy Brown, then Dr. Jose Ayala, Ken Zarefis, Joy Chevalier, Chap Thornton, and Laura Hoffman. We will then open it up to our pool reporter, who will ask questions on behalf of the media. Mayor Adler, over to you.
At the beginning of this pandemic, Governor Abbott said he'd be guided by the science and the data, and yesterday he broke that promise. Nearly unanimous health experts tell us that masking is the best tool we have to stop this virus, to open up schools to all kids in person, to keep businesses open. And now the governor's action has put those priorities at risk. There is no scientific basis for the governor now creating an ambiguity where none should exist. Masking works, and it continues to be necessary. I am especially concerned about frontline essential workers that don't even qualify for vaccines because they're under 65 and could be left now defenseless on those front lines. But our community has a choice. Just because the governor says it can't be mandated doesn't mean we don't need to wear our masks. We can still choose to wear masks. Businesses can still choose to require masking, just like we have done over the last 2 weeks. Now is the moment for our community to pull together to help protect ourselves and one another. Let's do it again. There is no explanation for the governor's action other than trying to distract us in the media from the failure of the state to protect us from the power outage. We need to focus on masking. When the governor breaks his promise to us, we must make a new promise to one another. Mask up, ATX. Judge Brown.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning, everybody. Yesterday's announcement from the governor, it comes at a time when the community is still recovering and still in the middle of crises. We're in the middle of a year-long COVID pandemic. We are still recovering from the ice storm where people were out of water, out of food, and some people are still out of water and out of food because of the devastation that we all had to go through. Other people are just thinking how they're going to make ends meet because they had to spend their savings on hotels or repairs in their homes and other things to make their lives livable again. And with just over 5% of our community vaccinated, this is no time to be lifting the mask ordinance. We are not declaring victory on the pandemic. We are not over the pandemic. We need to keep working together to vaccinate our entire population. I am excited about the possibility of continuing to work with everybody on this call, with the Texas Department of Emergency Management and others, to get increasing vaccines into our community as quickly as possible. But until we get to an 80% vaccination rate in our community, we're not going to have herd immunity. And so this lifting of the mask order is way, way too soon. So I hope that everybody will follow what the mayor said and keep wearing masks because we know they work. And it's what we have to do to make sure that our community stays safe and gets through this pandemic in the safest and quickest way possible. Thank you.
Dr. Ayala.
Hi, good morning. I'm a hospitalist. I'm like the doc who takes care of patients who are hospitalized at St. David's. This pandemic is far from contained, far from over. We are seeing a decrease in our cases. Usually we have 2 docs who are assigned to what we call the COVID service. And last week I was one of those docs, and our cases are down, but we're still not out of the woods. Lifting these restrictions, this mask mandate brings along a lot of risks. It increases the risk of more cases. There's also this discussion about all these variants that we're seeing in other places. The more cases there are, the more chance of us getting a mutation or a variant. We need to, follow science and data and not politics. This is the cheapest way to prevent, our friends, our neighbors from getting sick. 1 out of 10 Texans are yet vaccinated. And instead of relaxing, mask wearing, we should be more vigilant because we're doing better. And vaccination is also the best way to fight this. We need to encourage people to get vaccinated. Also, unfortunately, Latinos and other minorities, we are underrepresented. So we need to increase vaccinations in those populations. Latinos are 4 times more at risk of getting hospitalized, 3 times more at risk of dying in the hospital. Having COVID is such a lonely disease. At work, you see people come in for heart surgery, you broke your leg, whatever. And you always have somebody at your side. You have your partner, you have a friend. With COVID, you're in the hospital, you have nobody. You are lonely. There's nobody there next to you to chat with you. The nurses, the docs, we all come in all gowned up. It is one of the loneliest things I've ever seen, loneliest disease. So again, small price to pay to get ahead of this disease. I've been asked to do this in Spanish also, so I'll be quick. La pandemia aún no está contenida. Estamos haciendo mucho mejor en los hospitales, pero todavía hay muchos casos. Levantar las restricciones viene con muchos riesgos. Si se levantan las restricciones, van a haber más casos de COVID. También no se sabe cómo nos van a afectar estas nuevas variantes del virus. El cubrebocas, la mascarilla sigue siendo la manera más eficaz para tratar de prevenir esta enfermedad. También solo 1 de 10 personas en Texas están vacunados. Eso es como el 6.8% de tejanos. En lugar de descansar nuestra mente, hay que ser más vigilantes, hay que cuidarnos más. A partir de 10 de marzo, el gobernador tiene el mandato de no requerir mascarillas. No es buena idea. Necesitamos vacunarnos. Así podemos pelear este virus. También recordar que con los latinos y otras minorías no estamos muy bien representados. Los latinos son casi 4 veces más a riesgo de estar hospitalizados, 3 veces más a riesgo de morir de COVID. Y últimamente el COVID es una enfermedad de soledad. Uno viene al hospital, se enferma, tiene una cirugía y siempre está alguien cerca de ti, tu pareja, tu amigo, alguien. Pero con el COVID estás totalmente solo. Nadie está para detener tu mano, nadie con quien hablar. Nosotros, doctores, enfermeras, entramos mascarados. Es una enfermedad tan triste. Cuidarnos. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ken, over to you.
Good morning. My name is Ken Zarefis. I'm president of Education Austin, the employees union for AISD. And we not only represent teachers that pivoted a year ago to transform their instruction to online, but bus drivers that have provided Wi-Fi to tens of thousands of families without internet, food service workers that have prepared over 1 million meals for students and their families over the last year. We have custodians. We represent custodians that have cleaned facilities repeatedly. We have front office workers that help to reopen schools and continue to look for students that have not shown up to school yet. We have service workers that have kept the power on even during this horrific winter storm. And through all of that, they have been masked. We have been successful in this city to the extent that we have stayed masked. We have been successful in this city to the extent that we have followed science. We have been successful in this city because in spite of state leadership, we continue to follow science. Masking is one of the most effective ways to stay safe. The reasons that we are still at some measure of success is not because COVID is safer, it is because we have acted safer. Now is not the time to dispense with these efforts. You don't stop running halfway through a race. You will lose. You have to keep up the efforts. The efforts through masking, through flexible scheduling, through PPE has been a commitment this city has made. When we have families, 80% of them have chosen to stay home, to stay virtual in their school instruction. We know that overwhelmingly this city values safety. It is unquestionable, but it is unconscionable that the governor so brazenly has come out in efforts to only reopen businesses, to deflect from a massive failure on their part, to provide energy and to provide the power that people needed, that led to the water crisis and the food crisis that we're dealing with. We must continue our efforts. We cannot allow the state government to undermine what has been successful in Austin. We must continue to mask up. We must continue to protect our children. The workers in AISD, the 12,000 workers, work for the 80,000 students that have tens of thousands of families. Their workers in AISD are the children and families of our community. We must stay masked up. We must stay safe. ATX to do differently, we know is not wise. So mask up, ATX. Mask up. Thank you very much.
Joy.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Joyce Chevalier, and I own the Cook's Nook here in Austin, and we provide support to entrepreneurs and corporate brands and food services to across the city of Austin and to ISDs. And for many of us in our already hard-hit food sector, this lifting of our mask statewide, an ordinance is a real slap in the face for those of us who are essential workers, providing food and water day in and day out, already having to work under COVID and then with the storms. And then as we engage and continue to engage with those across our state, to be told that, that masks, as we know, are essential for us to be out to go do our work day in and day out. Masks that keep us protected is one of the few things that keep us protected in what we have to do, is lifted, is not required, and that everyone can go about and not have them is really hurtful, actually, and really dangerous to us. While we may be able to wear them, we're now in contact with more and more people who may be transmitting, who may be carrying COVID, and we don't know it. We have in our state right now one of the lowest of vaccination rates presently. We still have one of the lowest tested rates in the United States. So every day for us, it is a risk. It is a challenge to go out and do what we do. As an owner of a business, in order to keep my employees safe, to keep those around us safe, to keep our facility open and available to our entrepreneurs, to our food services business, we pay, and we pay for that PPE. We pay for that safety. We absorb those costs to ensure that we keep ourselves safe and we keep you and the public safe as well. And so we'll have to keep doing that as more and more people hopefully don't choose this option, but some will choose not to wear their masks. As a small business owner, it's not my role to have to be in mask enforcement or have to choose, who I'm going to do business with, or to ask not to step in our facility, or to have to keep them out. But you're already seeing amongst our friendly restaurants and venues, those who are having to put up signs or to make the public choice to say, we are still going to limit our engagement for the safety of our employees, for the safety of our vendors, partners, and others who have to come in. And that's a really hard choice to make, but they have to stay safe and they have no choice, and that they're going to continue to enforce masks and require masks in their buildings and facilities. And we will too at the Cooksmith. Just like Ken and everyone else has said, Austin has had the success that it has because we have chosen as a group to really, really stay masked. And we ask you guys to continue to do that in the face of our state. Once again, our statewide leadership sort of abandoning us to sort of take care of ourselves. So we ask you guys to continue to wear your masks and take care of us who are out there being essential. And like Dr. Ayala, those who are out there on the front lines. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Chap?
My name's Chap Thornton. I'm the business manager for Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local 286 here in Austin. We represent approximately 1,600 members that are plumbers, pipe fitters, HVAC technicians in the Central Texas area. Austin, Texas, as we know, is a busy place. Construction was busy in Austin prior to the pandemic, and we also are essential workers. And to be honest with you, we hadn't slowed down. And the freeze event of a week and a half ago did not help anything. We're just that much busier. We, as if you look at construction workers, we're used to what we call PPE, personal protective equipment. We wear safety glasses to protect our eyes, hard hats to protect our heads, high visibility vests to protect ourselves and others to make us aware that we're there, as well as footwear and such as that. The mask is to us is just become another layer of PPE. We recognize that is necessary to protect ourselves and to protect others. And I ask everyone within my organization and everyone in the city, please continue to wear that mask. It protects you, it protects others. It's just another layer of PPE. Plumbing, good plumbing is based on science. We learned a long time ago, clean water coming into our homes and businesses is essential to keep us healthy, and getting our waste products out of that building is just as essential to our health and safety. As is the mask. It's essential. There's still a hazard out there, and we have to continue to wear that mask. Thank you.
And finally, over to Laura Huffman.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Huffman, and I am the president and CEO of the Greater Austin Chamber of Commerce. Happy to be here today. And let me start by saying last year in 2020, when we were all in the midst of trying to figure out how we were going to live, work, and hopefully play during the pandemic, we formed a task force of over 200 business and community leaders to really think through the issues of how can we make sure that our businesses are as safe as possible, but with a strong eye towards public health, leading always with public health. And we launched a campaign last summer, which was a mask on each of us is a win for all of us. We do believe that there are practical things each of us can do to keep each other safe and to make sure that our businesses reopen safely. One of those is choosing to wear a mask in public. We do believe that a mask on each of us is important, and we urge businesses to continue implementing those measures that protect both your employees and your patrons. If you are concerned about our local businesses, then I urge you to respect the guidelines that they set, which allow them to safely operate. And we are encouraging businesses to maintain social distancing and to require masking. If you're concerned that people are able to work so they can provide for their families, then wear a mask. These are the practical things that we can do as members of a community for one another, and we're encouraging everyone to wear a mask. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura. Now we will have our pool reporter, Molly Oak from KVUE, who will ask questions on behalf of the media. Molly?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for making yourselves available to us today. The first question is from KVUE. How will the governor's order influence the way Austin-Travis County handles vaccines? Will there be a bigger push or a faster way to get more people vaccinated?
I'll take a stab at this first, Mayor, and then maybe you can follow up. So I think honestly, we're doing everything we can possible to get vaccines out to the largest number of people possible, and working well with Chief Kidd at the Texas Department of Emergency Management to do so. We got an additional 3,000 vaccines last weekend. Looks like we're getting another 10,000 this weekend to give out at CODA. I know Austin Public Health is also getting, I believe, more and more vaccines, as are the surrounding counties, which is all great. And the real race there is a race against the virus, a race against mutations of the virus. But doing that alone isn't going to save us. We have to keep wearing masks while we are getting to that goal, because the last thing that any of us want is a third surge. And that would make it harder to vaccinate people. That would make it harder for businesses to survive. And that would make it just a longer process for all of us to get through this. Pass it over to the mayor.
Judge, I think you gave a good answer. We're doing everything we can to get as many vaccines out to as many people as quickly as possible. We're trying to get all the supply we can, and all the supply we get, we administer quickly. But as the judge said, vaccines is not the answer by itself. We have to be able to have everyone masking for at least the period of time it's going to take to get everyone vaccinated. I'm concerned right now because the people that are under 65 and essential workers don't even qualify for a vaccine at this point. Those are our frontline workers. And if they find themselves working with patrons that are not wearing masks, then they and their families are put at an undue risk that they shouldn't have to face. Vaccines will not be the answer to that, at least in the very short term.
Next question is from the Austin Chronicle. On Monday, Dr. Escott said Austin could be in the stage 2 territory of local risk recommendations by the end of March or early April if safety precautions continued. How does Austin leadership anticipate the governor's new order impacting the local risk level going forward?
If our community continues to wear masking with the same level that exists right now, then our community will be able to progress. If our community hears what the governor did to indicate that it's no longer important to wear masking, people don't have to wear masking, it's not effective, then we could easily be facing yet a third surge. And that would be horrific for our community. So I think the answer to that question right now is up to the community, because we have choices to make. As Laura said with the chamber, everybody has choices. People can still choose to wear masks. Businesses can still choose to require masking. If we all help one another and support one another, as we have just done the last couple of weeks with the weather and power and water crisis, then we'll do okay. But it's up to us now. We have a choice.
The next question is from CBS Austin. What percentage of the community needs to be vaccinated, or percentage herd immunity are you looking for to consider this order appropriately safe? This has even more people wanting to get vaccinated. Any room for Austin, Travis County to expand vaccinations?
Well, just looking at other sources, other leaders in the medical community, numbers range up to 80%. And again, only 1 in 10 Texans are vaccinated right now, so I think we have a long way to go. I think there needs to be a lot more education. There's a lot of people who fear vaccines, so we need to reassure and educate the population. But I think we still have a long way to go. But I guess the first, 80%.
Yep, I agree. I think that's our goal, is getting to 80%. And last time I checked yesterday on the DISH's website, it said that we've vaccinated 5.6% of the population in Travis County with the full vaccine. So that's nowhere near 80%. That, in fact, is a very long way from 80%. So I know that the mayor and I, HEB, CVS, every vaccine hub in the area is doing everything they can to get vaccines out as quickly as possible. I am encouraged that the supply seems to be increasing, but has not increased enough, and we don't have enough shots in arms yet in Travis County and Central Texas to relax the mask mandate.
Next question is from KXAN. What efforts will be made to encourage local businesses to implement their own mask mandates, for example, tax incentives? Will APD respond if business owners call saying customers are violating their requirements?
I don't know the answer. I don't know that public safety will be able to respond to individual businesses' requirements. But I hope that businesses set those rules and maintain those rules. As a community, we get to choose which businesses we go to. And it is certainly reasonable for everyone in our community to choose to go to those businesses that keep them and their employees the safest. And I think we should be honoring and patronizing and holding up those businesses that are going the extra mile to help keep their customers and their employees safe.
Yeah, maybe, Mayor, I'll jump in and just add a comment here. I mean, if you look at what's happened over the past year, we've seen a lot of, our favorite businesses close in Austin. There has been a deep impact to the business community. And so, I think if you put all these facts together and you think about, 5% of the population that we live with has both vaccines, we've got a long way to go before everyone has received both vaccines. And we are at a turning point. We're fortunate that we're getting more vaccines on a weekly basis. We're fortunate that the distribution system is going well. And so, this is really about us leaning in as a community and be respectful of businesses who are trying to do everything they can to stay open so that you have your favorite restaurant or bar to go to when all of this is over. So, no, I don't think businesses need an incentive in order to ask people to wear masks. I think businesses have a natural incentive, which is that they want to keep their employees and their patrons safe. They want to stay open. And when we come all the way out of this pandemic and we're fully reopened, I think people want to feel good about the efforts that we made for one another.
Yeah. I would just, this is Joy, I would just jump in here and also say, yes, even starting last night, you're starting to see the list of restaurants, venues, and other food and venue places sort of actively saying what their plans are and how they're going to protect their staff, their employees, and patrons and customers, and what they're going to do about those, and who will come in and do so without masks. And they're asking folks to respect that they have mask policies in their establishments.
The next question is from KUT. What, if any, power or options do localities have to enact their own mask mandate or occupancy rules?
So I think it's been severely curtailed by this, but I think the thing we need to remember is that, first of all, this order that the governor ordered yesterday does not take place until March 10th. So currently everything that the mayor and I have ordered is still in place. I'm working with our county attorney to see what our options are, but I think that we're going to do everything possible to still require masks in any way possible under that order and under the law. But I think most importantly, we need to work with local businesses who are telling me that they still want to be able to require people to wear masks. They want people to wear masks. This is frankly bad for our local businesses here in Austin and Travis County because it puts them in an awkward position. Just like the mayor was saying, if the penalties are removed by this order, then if they are trying to enforce mask wearing and enter some sort of, issue with somebody about that, they're limited on their ability to call the police. This order really puts them in a very bad place. And so I think the thing that we need to focus on is everybody wearing a mask, despite what this order says. I know at the county level, we're looking into what legal options we have to continue to enforce masks, because until we get that 5% of vaccination for Travis County up to 80%, we can't relax, and we don't want to risk going into a third surge.
Remember earlier in the pandemic, it really was the cities and the counties across the state that encouraged and got their residents to wear masking. It has always been the cities and the counties that have led on this issue. This is not the first time that the governor took away the ability of city counties to impose a penalty associated with mask wearing. The other times the governor's done that, he's ultimately had to change that decision because of ensuing spikes. But even during that period of time, my order still required masking in the city, and I would anticipate continuing to do that. The penalty at this point for that could easily be just that. If you don't wear masks, more people are going to get sick and more people are going to die. And that should be sufficient penalty in and of itself.
This next question is from Co-op Radio. Has the city, county reached out to the federal pharmacy program to increase the number of providers in Travis County like ARC?
In the conversations that I've been able to have with the White House officials, together with other mayors, we are constantly and continually urging the administration to increase the supply of vaccines that would be getting out to the communities and to all suppliers in the community, especially cities and counties as they gear up for mass distributions.
Yeah, and we sent a letter last week, I think, with the 3 surrounding county judges. It was a bipartisan letter that we sent both to Texas Department of Emergency Management asking for 50,000 vaccines to give out at the Circuit of the Americas. We also sent a similar letter to the federal government asking for vaccines to give out in a similar way. We've got 3,000 additional vaccines last weekend for this combined effort and 10,000 for this weekend, and we hope that that number will continue to increase.
This next question is from KVUE. Since this is an executive order, what enforcement options, if any, are there from a local standpoint if people choose not to wear a mask?
As Judge Brown said, it's a new order. We're working with our attorneys right now. Obviously we'll do everything that we can to try to obtain the widest spread use of masking. Because we know that it's effective and we know that it works and we know that it's still necessary. At this point, we're still waiting for that review. But again, people should know that ultimately, all of these things, it has never been about making these things work through enforcement. There had never been enough police officers and deputy sheriffs and code enforcement agents to enforce our way to success. This has always been about us and the choices that we make as individuals and as individual businesses. We have the power ourselves to keep the community safe, and it's that power that we should be exercising.
The next question is from CBS Austin. Already looking at how this
if I may be able to,
Let me start that over. This is from CBS Austin. Already looking at how this will impact schools, summer school. Will schools be able to enforce their own mask mandates? And will teachers make it higher on the list for vaccines now that there's a greater risk for exposure?
Well, I'm Ken Zarefis, president of Education Austin, employees union for the district, and I think there's still a lot to be seen through TEA rules after the mandate that the superintendent has informed me that they're pursuing. But I think it really brings up a very important point that we've created a culture of masking within the district, and I think that culture will permeate beyond an ill-advised directive by the governor. And I think to Mayor Adler's point, I think is very important. As a teacher and someone who represents teachers throughout the district, this is about education. This has never been about punishment. Punishment is not the way we learn things. So if we are just implementing a punitive system that you will do this or you will get punished, that's going to create a resistance. When I was in the classroom with 8th graders, that does not solve your problems. Educating people solves the problems. And this press conference and more efforts. So businesses, the schools have to educate families, kids, and others to indicate why this is so important. So it's important, and it's incumbent upon us to continue to educate through this so that we learn why it's important to keep us all safe. Hopefully all employees, because we have employees, the most vulnerable employees on the BIPOC community that are the most vulnerable, that are not necessarily in 1B, that are out in the front lines taking care of business and keeping people safe. We need to move the entire school community up and hopefully get more opportunities for teachers and school employees to get vaccinated.
Steve Adler, I think that the indications I've seen are that the AISD superintendent, Elizalde, has indicated that she's going to still require the same masking that had been in place before. And I think we all applaud that and hope that other institutions and businesses follow suit.
The next question is from KXAN. Can Travis County end alcohol sales earlier than 2 a.m.? Is this something the county will consider doing if it sees unsafe practices like packed bars with no social distancing or masks?
That's a great question. And yeah, we're looking at all options on trying to make for people that do go to restaurants, make that experience safer. And if that's something that we can do under the law, that is absolutely something that we would consider, because the thing that Dr. Mark Escott has always said to me, and that I have seen based on his numbers, is that when you take your mask off, especially at a bar or a restaurant, and you're close to people with whom you don't live, that's where COVID spreads the most. And so anything that we could do to work with local businesses and restaurants to curtail that behavior, and if that means changing the hours of openings of restaurants, and that's something that we're able to do under this new order, that's absolutely something that I would look at doing.
The next question is from KUT. How does the governor's order impact the potential spread of other COVID variants in the community?
That's a good question, and I don't think there's a lot of good answers. But if you have a disease, a contagious disease being spread, the virus is like you and me. They want to survive. So if you try to put things in place to, kill a virus, the virus is going to learn how to survive. That's what all living things do. So the more we mask up, the more we protect ourselves and others, you decrease the numbers of virus and things will go in a better direction. But if people stop wearing masks, all age ranges, we know that kids are not as symptomatic as our older adults. They have the potential also to spread it to their caregivers, their older family members. So biggest solution is masking and vaccination. La pregunta es con estas nuevas reglas de no usando cubrebocas, ¿qué va a pasar con variantes de la virus? La virus es como tú y yo. La virus quiere sobrevivir. Si tratas de matar a una virus, la virus aprende cómo sobrevivir como nosotros. Entonces, más virus hay en nuestra comunidad, esa virus aprende cómo pelear, cómo sobrevivir. Entonces, la solución es seguir usando las mascarillas, las cubrebocas, proteger a nuestras familias, a los niños, vacunando. Pero lo más simple es siguiendo usando las cubrebocas.
Thank you, Dr. Ayala. At this time, we will go into our closing remarks, and we will start with the mayor. Mayor Adler.
Real simply, we have a choice to make in this community. And it's one I'm sure we're going to make, as we have over the last year, to help keep ourselves and others safe. We get to decide whether or not masking is something that happens in a widespread manner in our community. We get to decide. And I just hope that and trust that regardless of what the governor orders or doesn't order, or anyone orders or doesn't order, that in Austin and Travis County, we will mask up.
Thank you, sir. And at this time, we will have our final closing remarks from Travis County Judge Andy Brown.
Thanks, everybody. And thanks to our community. Thanks to everyone for going through everything that you have done this past year, these past couple of weeks, and keeping on going. It has been a ridiculous year. It has been a hard year. It has been a hard few weeks, and it is still hard for so many people that don't have water, don't have food, and are having to sink their savings into fixing their homes and fixing their pipes right now. The last thing we need is another COVID surge. And so I would urge everyone to keep wearing their masks, no matter what the governor says, no matter what anybody else says, and to work together. Come volunteer at a vaccine clinic. Help us get as many vaccines into arms as possible in Travis County as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Thanks to all the panel members today and to our pool reporter, Molly Oak from KVUE. This concludes our news conference for today. Thank you and be safe.